Been doing it for years.
Really?
Don't know why. Oh no, I think it started cross country as a kid. If you have like a really flat number and the wind catches it, just flaps. And so I always scrunchie it up and like so it contoured to the vest. Yeah, I still do it. Do it all the time.
No, previous things that.
I used to have loads, and then it just kind of like one of the things I used to want to do, because I read somewhere that Kelly Holmes always went in the same toilet, so I was like, I need to go in the same toilet every day. And then once, like the toilet that was my toilet was busy, and I was going to miss my race, so I was like, oh, I've got to forget that one. So I try not to have too many, because sometimes it just you get caught up with it. But yeah, but my favourite number is 4. So if I see like we don't really so much have numbers anymore, but sometimes we do. If there's a 4, if I can reduce it to 4, that's kind of good. It's gonna be a good day.
No. Sorry.
You just have to throw it around. It's all good.
Just look as well as you can, do you know what I mean? Look good, feel good, run good.
Who else has got a question?
I was just wondering about your diets. You must all have different diets. Or do you bother, or how good are you?
Did you see those crisps over there? Me and Ross pretty much all of them. No, I think when with marathon running and you're running so many miles, I know I could be more sort of strict with what I eat, and but as long as you eat 3 decent meals a day, fruit, veg, and all that kind of stuff, then the amount I'm running, I can just really eat anything.
But if you just ate, for example, because I know myself, if you just ate pasta and didn't think about that protein, the steak, if you just ate pasta, maybe you wouldn't be as good a runner as if you ate meat as well, and that chicken.
I'd always have like the meat and with the pasta and various other protein, carbohydrate.
But you don't have a regime sort of thing.
Not really. Only kind of like with the marathon again. You hit like carbo loading like the week before the race. So like 4 or 5 days out from the race, I'll make sure I'm having like a pasta meal for lunch and dinner every day.
But you're very slim, so do you actually not want to get too fat as well? Is it a balance between, I can't get too fat because I've got to run like a deer sort of thing?
No, I think just running the miles keeps the weight off.
Yeah.
I think just add to that, everyone's different, and I've definitely, like in my experience, in my event, 800 metre runners come in all shapes and sizes. So you kind of have to tailor your diet to you. I think the starting point is we should all be eating healthy and balanced, and basically getting all your fibre a day and things like that as a starting point. But then I guess because we are performing at such a high level, if we think of ourselves in terms of high performance cars or whatever, you only put the best petrol in there, so give yourself the best food. And then again, for me, I do work closely with nutritionists, but try not to get too bogged down, because it's like, when I'm competing, I'm 7%, 6.5% body fat, so I'm not, going to pump fat. But, I do have that, oh my God, I can't have that because I'm going to get fat. Nutritionist, like, you're not going to get fat, but you just want to fuel yourself, basically. So
yeah, you've got to be strong.
Yeah, so, it does, get quite strict race time. In the winter, you've got a bit more leniency and you're just more hungry, and it's just about choosing the right food. So, once a week the cheesecake isn't bad, but...
Alcohol?
I love a red wine, I love a Merlot. So
what I actually struggle with more is I lose weight, so I make sure I eat a lot. Like I eat a lot, and I also, whenever I'm in the gym, I always come back and have protein shakes. And I think one of the most important things, eating relatively sensibly, I think one of the most important things is as soon as you finish a training session or a run, bang, get your recovery drink in, because then you come to run later in the evening and you actually feel so much fresher.
Yeah.
Things
about
like
recovery,
that.
really.
Yeah, and in terms of desserts, if someone put a dessert in front of me every night, I would have it, but that's because I think I'm running enough to warrant that. And in terms of alcohol, I'm very different to most athletes in that if I want to have a night out, if I want to go to the pub, I will do it. Yeah. And it's whether that's once a week, whether that's once every other week, whether that's twice a week, I would have no qualms with doing that, because
You're a northerner.
I would never want to let athletics...
It's kind of genetic.
Well, especially with Newcastle as well. I would never want to let athletics dictate my life and stop me doing anything I wanted to do, because then I think you can grow to resent the sport.
Yeah.
So if I want to go out with my mates, go to the pub, do you want to come? Yeah, I'll go. If not, then... And even if I do go, and I know I've got training the next day, if I miss training the next day, that's when it's a problem. Yeah. And that's when I'd be like, that Ross, you've been out of order there, like, get up. If you're going to go out, make sure you get up and you do your training.
Yeah.
and if you're not, then that's when you got to. But I've always done it. I just get up, and it's harder sometimes, but grind it out.
And slow.
Yeah, I was going to say, and slower, right?
Yeah, I
surprised.
don't like that feeling after.
Don't you think
Fueled by
I mean, we've got heels to contend with, and I don't want so close.
You might never quite reach your full potential.
Well, the way I think about it is, I think a lot of winning medals and things like that is actually the mental side of things. And I think when I'm on that start line, I'm such a happy person in life generally because I've got such a good social life. And that's not going out clubbing and partying, but on a Saturday night, like, we've got the Eightlane arms, and if I want to have 1 pint, if I want to have 5 or 6, I'll do that, because I'm happy then. And I'm not, you know, when you're training, it's, I don't know, it just feels like you work hard, so you deserve an outlet and deserve to be happy. I don't know, it's just, it's my thing, and it works for me, and it's not for everybody, and I get a lot of criticism for it, but yeah. It works for me. I've had some of my best races, and I've been out on a night out the week before, less than 7 days before.
What's your ambition?
My ambition?
Yeah.
I'm in this sport to win medals. If in 4 years' time I don't think I can win medals, then I'd probably stop.
So Teddington Arms Friday. Is that you on the bar?
Saturday, actually.
Yeah, Saturday.
Watch it, the press don't care.
To be honest, as long as I'm performing, in a nice way, I don't really care what people think. And not in an obnoxious, arrogant way, it's just everyone's allowed their opinion and it's worked for me, so yeah.
Who else? Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, this might be a bit boring. I've been a bit injured lately, so I've been thinking more about strength and conditioning stuff. And so I was wondering how much you factor that into your training.
I think one of the biggest things which I think touch would have helped clear up my injuries is orthotics. I would suggest a lot of people go and get tested to see whether they need orthotics, but if you're going to see someone that's got a good reputation as well. But yeah, the strength and conditioning I'd say obviously helps a lot.
Yeah, I'm in the gym twice a week, so I do just real sort of basic weights, like squats, stiff-legged deadlifts, and then a lot of hurdle walkovers.
Oh, really?
And just a lot of drills, basically. With marathon running, you tend to find, because you're just running long and just slow compared to like these guys who are all track doing, you tend to lose a bit of your speed. So doing like the hurdle drills and the bounding and the drills, you kind of just keep in touch with that.
Do you do much plyometrics and stuff?
Not a great deal. I do some. Yeah.
Cool.
I think it's more of an injury
I
prevention
probably
thing.
do a bit more of the bounding and stuff like that, but you know, actually I think it's really important that your core is strong. I've actually had periods where, you know, I've not been able to run, and then returning back to running, I've been like, oh, that wasn't as painful as I was thinking. That's because I've managed to keep up, you know, the rehab exercises, you know, Paul has given me, or Leah, who I work with for my strength and conditioning, and it makes a big difference. And there's been periods where, you know, when I was younger and I didn't know as well, I was injured, so I just sat on my sofa and ate chocolate. And I came back and it was like, I almost had, you know, it was hard. It felt, I was like, oh, how have I ever run fast? So it is really important, and it is, a lot of it is kind of, once you've got over an injury, it's important to keep it going, so that, you know, it prevents, you know, going back down that road again.
Cool, thanks guys.
How do you keep your mental focus when you're racing?
So when I'm racing, it's fine because it takes care of it. The body goes into autopilot and that's fine. It's actually when I'm away from it and actually staying focused, because I feel like there's so much surrounding time, and you know, race time, and you want to get PB, and you know, your day is, or my day is meticulously planned. So actually in all that time, it's actually a massive window for anxiety to build up and pressure, and I am quite susceptible to that because, one, I'm an overthinker, I'm female, so that's natural. So I do have, you know, strategies that I work with a cognitive behavioural therapist once a week, but he's also at the end of my phone, speed dial. But I think a major thing as well is something Ross has touched on, and it's like, don't lose your identity in running. because there are times where it's taken away from you and you can't run, and it's like, oh, what do you do then? And I think a lot of runners struggle with that because they're so obsessed with running, and when it's like not there, it's like, what do I do? So I try and stay in touch with things that make me me and the things that I enjoy and make me happy. And then obviously I work with Donovan for things that, because a lot of what happens to you in life is, that's how you're going to react to pressurised situations and when you race and stuff. So something I'm very prone to is going off a bit fast. But for me, it's like ever since I was a little girl, I was kind of like in those fight or flight moments, I'd just like go crazy and like just So that would happen, and people would be like, "Did you mean to go through in like world record pace?" No, is the answer, because I know what's going to happen, but I couldn't control it. So we're just trying to stay in touch with that, and I have things when I get out on the track, I try and focus on a point, and it's like at least for the first 100, I need to know that I'm going to get to this point and feel the time, and you practice it in training and just try and make it as natural as possible. And during the day, sometimes you're not racing until 9-10 o'clock at night. If you're in Spain or Italy, they're just like on different kind of times, so it's like you've got the whole day to shoot. So I just make sure I go out for a walk, have a coffee at whatever time I plan, and we always do a jog in the morning and watch my favourite movie or do some writing. I like to write, so yeah, just strategies just so the mind doesn't wander and you can stay then focused in the here and now in the race.
I think I used to be, when I was younger, I used to actually be a lot like Marilyn. I used to choke a bit in races because I think I lived my life. So when I was like 18 and things like that, all my friends started running, I used to do that because I was thinking, like a lot of people would think, athletes don't go, don't do this. But I found I had so much pent up frustration, and then like I said, I started to resent the sport. And you were saying about having your own identity. I think that's very important to running well. I think happy athletes run quick, and that's within the whole range of life. If someone was having problems with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, I think that would show on the track. My days are slightly different. Like when I'm off that track, I'm not running. I don't want to talk about running. Obviously, I'm happy now. But when I'm away from that, this is fine. But when I'm away from it, I don't want to think about it. I don't want to talk about it. I've been doing it all morning. That's why I like to have friends who A, are not runners, or B, don't talk about running all the time, because it's very easy for people who want to just, even going back at Christmas, I found it difficult with the family, all they wanted to talk about was running and athletics. And I was like, I was injured at the time, and I think this is really rude, but everyone was around on Boxing Day, and it got to a point where I was so frustrated, I went upstairs and went to my bedroom, went to sleep for an hour, and everyone was like, where the hell, where's Ross? Where's he gone? But it was too much. I don't like talking about it all the time, and everyone's different, but I prefer the more relaxed you are, probably the better. So.
Back to the question, when you're racing. Like for me, these guys, their races last 2 minutes or less, or 4 minutes or less.
What do you think about? I've never even asked you this.
Give me an answer?
Yeah.
I'm out there for like over 2 hours, so it sounds strange, but I just switch off. Like you find the pace, and then you get into that, and then your mind just starts to wander. You start, like in Berlin, I remember looking at the crowd, running past people with like GB flags, thinking, well, why are they not cheering? I'm from but like they're obviously there to support their friends and family who are like in the race, like further down the field. And so just random things go through your head as you're running, and I just like to switch off until maybe the last sort of 10-15k where you're actually starting to hurt and you need to sort of focus on the task in hand. So I just think about all sorts of stuff on the running.
Like what?
Dunno.
Yeah, do you actually think about TV programmes and things like that?
Yeah. Sometimes, it probably shouldn't be, but you start thinking about prize money, like where you are in the race, and no, you do. Yeah. I'm sure you.
I think about that. You go in the home straight, and you're thinking, even if you're not going to win the race,
it's not people you see. It's like the dollar sign.
It's like each person you take, you could be doubling the amount of money you're going to get, can't you? It's like you just.
I think that there's a good point to make here, is that this is their living, right? And if they race and they go high enough up the race, then they get some money. If they don't, they don't. These aren't people that are lavished in huge sponsorship deals. In fact, Roscoe and Scott came and dismantled my kid's climbing frame 2 years ago.
I was so skint then, you wouldn't believe. Like me and Scott at the same time, because you had me on 210, and I can't believe I was so poor.
And it's sort of like, it came out in conversation, I went, well, I've got these things that I need doing, come round and, you know, I'll pay you for it. And he was so impressed that we had Yorkshire tea bags, I can't even tell you.
Yeah. Do you know what as well? He was even like, oh, you know, we're moving out, so there's loads of free food in the fridge. I was so poor. I took advantage of the free lunch. I was like, I'll get my money. I was living, on a serious note, I was living food-wise on around about £2 a day. That's how poor I was.
And of course, like, the Olympics really helps with these things. There'll be people here that work for big corporations. Tiffany, you're not one of them because you work for me. that work for big corporations, and you know, you've met these guys, and it is a bit of a sort of loaded point. But if you do know the head of, you know, I know people that do funding. I don't work for big enough companies to even know who that person is. Head of HR, wherever it might be, that you could put through me and I could send to them, and then they've got a name to write to. That really, really helps. You know, I had a sporting career way back when they was probably still getting changed out of nappies, and I was pretty good because I worked in the sports industry. So when someone came in trying to sell something to the company I was working for, I'd say, we'll buy your product, but you have to sponsor me. And that's probably not legal, but I got quite a lot of sponsoring deals and that was just for canoeing. I mean, they weren't ever going to get anything, and I didn't go to the Olympics or anything like that. But I was using that to my best advantage, and I was probably ranked about 6 in the country, and I had by far the biggest sponsorship deal. So you don't need to be the best athlete; you just need to know the most people. But you know, this is absolutely right. I lived on pasta and ketchup when I was a student. I had no money, and so if there are people that you know, if there are ways in which you can help, or little links where you can send them through to me, and I'll send them to them, and the first one of them gets an email to them, might get something out of it. You never know. Sorry, any more questions? What I just done?
1,500 metres. How long before the race? What type of warm up do you do before that type of race? I mean, you're racing less than 4 minutes, but massively intensive. Yeah. Like, do you start at half an hour before? What talk us through?
I'll probably, I think about an hour before I really sort of think, right, I'm going to switch on. Before that, I tend to like switch off actually. So through the day, like Marilyn was saying, you might not race till 7 o'clock at night. Yeah. So you know, I'll usually sleep in pretty like as long as I can without going overboard and having 12 hours sleep. Yeah. Sleep in quite a lot. And then watch a film, doze small, go for a walk, do this, that, and then listen to a lot of music, and then really an hour before is when I go, right, let's go, and I usually go do a jog, come back nice and slow, really slow, because a lot of time when you go to these places, they're hot as well, aren't they? Yeah. So you don't want to do too much. It's cruising, it's how you go to the toilet, have your last toilet stop, come back, get your number ready, things like that. I'll go out and do about 4 sets of drills, 4 or 5 sets of drills, and then, you know, a couple of sort of easy strides, and then when you're out on the track, because what happens is a lot of the time you're actually held like this for about 20 minutes. So you've got to have been pretty much fully warmed up by this point, and then you can, you know, kick your legs out a bit, and then you get out on the track and they go, right, you can go and do some strides, and you do some fast, harder ones. But by this point you need to have been ready to go, because you don't know how long you're going to be there. So it could be 10 minutes, could be 20 minutes. Like for the Olympics, I had to be warmed up 50 minutes before. So having to warm up 50 minutes before you're actually going to race is